Hallo Yakov, Tishmi nice. We're doing a Dego Machne Ephraim Pasha Zeker. V'shomer Hashem Alekecha Lecho. It says, Klal Godel Avodas HaBohir, an important principle to do the divine work that we were created to do. V'hikari HaEmuna. The main thing is the belief. Valzeo Imazir, uncanny, the Baal Shem Tov used to warn. This is the source root of all the learning and all the service. This is what David HaMelech says. Kol mitzvosecho emuna. All your commandments are belief. Sheker redafuni azreini. Lies were chasing me. Please help me. Kikar mitzvahs, the main purpose of the commandments, Ya'amuna is the belief. Lahamin Bashem, to believe in the Creator. So what is he saying? He's saying the most important part of spirituality is belief. In the human experience, our entire journey, our entire legacy is driven by the power of belief. Whatever we believe, that becomes the lens through which we see reality. What we don't believe, we won't attempt to achieve, which means that everything we don't believe in, we've automatically locked ourselves out of that potential. Even if that potential is immediately available. If we don't believe in it, it's as if it doesn't exist. And so the human potential is infinite. The possibilities are endless. People in the past have achieved things that today we can't even imagine. They're unimaginable. All the great achievements are invisible to the eye because the real achievements are achievements within the quality of life, within the perception, within the activity of the organs. They're not visible externally. And so all the great achievements from ancient times until today were rewarding to those who experienced them, to those who achieved them. But at the same time, they were invisible to those who didn't. And so in order for one to try to attain, try to achieve a reward, one would have to believe that that reward is available before they're going to invest their time, they're going to invest their energy to try to achieve that reward. And so this problem that the biggest rewards in life are invisible causes people who don't understand life properly, causes people who grow up in certain cultures not to realize how much they're missing out by not looking for the truth. They don't understand the potential of what's possible in the experience of a human spirit inside a body. And because they don't know of this potential, they don't try to go after it, they don't try to attain it, they don't try to achieve it. And so religion came to the world in order to convince people that there is a tremendous reward to be had if we can understand the nature of life, if we can understand who we really are. And that reward is more rewarding than anything that we can attain externally, anything that we can attain from the environment. So the potential within us is infinitely more rewarding than the potential outside of us, the potential of what we can get from others or what we can get from the environment. And for one to achieve this goal, what's required is a deep conviction, is belief that it is worth to invest the time, the effort, the discipline that it will require to attain this goal, because we know that the Creator created a world that, when properly understood, has a certain reason to it, has a certain way of how we can get along with it, how we can make it work for us, how on the higher levels it can serve us, can serve our purpose, our deeper, our higher purpose. This is the reason why it was created. It was created to serve us ultimately. Reality was created to serve the human spirit. But reality can only serve the human spirit when the human spirit is wise enough to know how not to damage reality. Every place where we cause damage, we cause suffering. Every place where we misunderstand, we cause confusion. And this is why life became so complex. This is why life became so difficult. And so in the internal dimensions, in the dimensions of the spirit, life has become a prison for many. And that prison is built from false beliefs. And this is what the David HaMelech is complaining about. He says, lies are chasing me, sheker defini, illusions, lies, thoughts that don't reflect reality are trying to penetrate my awareness, are trying to convince me that they're real. Save me, please. And this is why we have a Torah. The Torah is here to save us from false beliefs, from evil spirits, from life forces that have turned against life itself. Life forces that exist in reality, but they don't reflect reality. They were not created in accordance with reality. And so everything that we create in reality, we create in accordance with our beliefs. The difference between people is the difference in their beliefs. That's at the root. When people united with their beliefs, they were like one person. They could act, a whole nation could act as one person if their beliefs are united. And so that's why he's saying the whole Torah, the whole service, is all for us to be able to align our beliefs with reality so that we can believe what is healthy for us to believe. What is healthy for us to believe? The truth. That's the only thing that's healthy. Everything else has negative side effects. And some beliefs are so toxic to the spirit that they are like poison. They remove the desire of the spirit to live. And that's the life force itself. When the spirit has no desire, then the spirit has no life. The spirit cannot affect change. The spirit cannot manifest reality. So when a person has beliefs that are incompatible to the human being, that are incompatible to the spirit. This causes the spirit to remove its life force from within the person. This is a form of anger, a form of disappointment of the spirit, of the reality that it was created into. It's resisting reality. And there's no other place to go other than reality. There's no other place to be. So this reality was created for this spirit. The beliefs have to match. The beliefs have to be aligned with the nature of the spirit. Otherwise, the beliefs do not reside in truth. All other beliefs are beliefs created by the other side. Who's the other side? The other side is the side of humanity that is angry at humanity. It's the side of humanity that hates humanity. That other side. Any beliefs that belong to that side, we want no part of. Those beliefs lead straight to hell. And so everything that happens to us, everything we experience, everything we think, everything we say, and everything we do depends on our beliefs. When we believe, we choose which level of the game are we playing. And then we will receive, we will interact from that place. And our mind will interpret from that place. And we will interpret what people tell us from that place. And we will react to what we think they told us from that place. So everything comes back to belief. What do you believe you are? What do you believe you're supposed to be doing? There's no right. How can it be right? Who knows enough to be able to base anything on something that's certainly right? There's no right. It's what you believe. If it works, you continue believing it. If it doesn't work, you adjust your belief. It's just a belief. It's just something that somehow, through the information that you've received, you've come to a certain conclusion. And that conclusion can be extremely dangerous. That conclusion can eliminate a lot of the opportunities life had for you. So David HaMelech asks for help. He says, all your commandments are to help me believe, because lies are running after me. Help, please help. He's sending out a signal. So he was at least close enough to the truth that he could see the lies running after him. So that's a very pure perception. That's a person that's on top of his game. He sees what's happening inside of him. It says, Mishem Mamen Bashem Yochel Ispala B'chol Yom. If you have the appropriate belief in the Creator, then you can pray all day. Every thought, every interaction. You're going to see him there. You're going to know you're interacting with his intelligence. What's going to decide how your future looks? That thing inside of you that thinks. That thing inside of you that speaks. That's the one that's going to decide. Now, when I do something, I'm going to say a sentence now. How's that going to affect my future? How's that going to affect that thing that thinks and that thing that speaks? Well, that depends. What does it depend on? It depends on how that thing was designed by the one who created it. He designed it a specific way. In his wisdom, he designed it to be a certain way. Now, when I say a sentence, I'm interacting with what he designed, and the result is going to be based on his formula, on his wisdom. I don't understand it. He understands it. And yet, I'm going to behave in accordance with how he understands me to be. Not in accordance with how I understand myself to be. And so if I believe in him, if I believe in the nature of how things really are, then I'm constantly interacting with him. Everything I do is an interaction with him. Everything I do is an interaction with his design, with his wisdom. I'm trying to interact with him in a way that causes his wisdom to agree that I need to get what I want. And so everything is a prayer. Everything is an interaction with the truth, with the wisdom that created life, with the wisdom that created the human spirit. Every time I do anything, I'm trying to influence the things that he created. So I'm trying to align my understanding of reality with his creation, with the real nature of how he created it, so that when I interact with him, when I interact with his wisdom, I receive the intended result. They said if you really believe, then you're davening all day. Everything you do is a prayer. If one really believes that the original force that created life renews every single day all the powers, all the stars, all the planets, in order for them to have continued existence, just like the human being renews his life force every breath, every few seconds. He starts a new journey of life, and a few seconds later, that journey is done. He exhaled. Now he needs new fuel. He needs to quickly find a fuel station in order to refuel so that his brain can continue for a few more seconds. And grateful we are to the kind wisdom that provided a fuel station that covers our entire planet. So we don't have to go too far. And then we can live for a few more seconds. And so in a similar fashion, the universe gets renewed every day, every cycle. Because the one who created it all, he is above time and he's above space. So when he created all of time with the same intention. And so every day was created with an individual intention for that day to be what it is. And then that intention united with the intention of the other days in order to create the future, in order to create the destiny that's going to be the result of all these intentions. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mechadesh b'tuva b'chol yom tov ma'aseh b'reishis. When we are here in this day and we're receiving life for this day, who are we receiving it from? We're receiving it from a place that is beyond time. We're receiving it from a place that gave life to all things at all times. We're always receiving only from that place. That's the only place that can give life. No day can receive life from any other day. It's just like what I'm thinking now is not receiving life from my previous thought. Yes, I'm thinking this now it's a continuation of my previous thought. But the Spirit gave life to create the previous thought. The Spirit gave life to create this thought. The thoughts have a relationship. The thoughts have a continuance, but they do not receive life from each other. Today doesn't receive life from yesterday. Today is not simply here because there was a yesterday. Today is receiving life from the source of all life. That's the only way it can exist. The story, the plot, is a continuation. There's a purpose, there's a destiny that plays out, cause and effect. One thing after the other, after the other. And this builds intelligence. This allows the human to become more evolved. This allows the human mind to eventually perceive the nature of its reality, to eventually understand how to improve its condition. But the life is received from the source of life. That's the only place where we can receive life from. That's the only place anything that exists can receive existence from. There's no other source. There's no other channel. And so therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mechadesh b'tuvay b'chol yom tov. And every day, he creates with his kindness. Yesterday is gone. Yesterday is over. Yesterday received life from the source of life, beyond time, beyond space, from the original decision that existence, the universe, the human spirit needs to come out into manifestation. So with that decision came the decision that today we're all sitting here and conversing together. This is part of that original life force that decides every single detail that also takes place, because everything that is needs to receive life from that source. Everything that is was concluded to be from the original source that is beyond space and beyond time. And this is our direct link to the kindness of the Creator. The Creator has no other incentive to do this other than pure kindness, the desire to share, the desire to allow beings to go into darkness so that they can enjoy the discovery that they are pure light. And so this is pure kindness, and to allow for this to take place, to allow us to go into illusion, to lose our identity, so that we can rediscover, so that we can not simply have the joy of having it, so that we can have the joy of thinking we don't have it, and then slowly discovering that we do have it, and we have it more than we can think, and more than we can imagine, and slowly to realize more and more what that really means, and to come to appreciate this relationship that we almost thought we don't even want. So this experience was designed by pure kindness, by the willingness of the one who has the power to create, to allow us to realize his bliss, to realize his divine pleasure of existence. And so every day, V'chol Yom is a Bria Chadosha, is a new creation. V'chol Elamis and Brium Chadoshim, they're new creations. Each world that we perceive, each thought where we see life a slightly bit differently, is a new world, is a new reality, is a new potential. In that concept, in that perception, we could have created an entire civilization. We could create people to live in that perception. Every perception could be a world, could be a reality. And some perceptions became realities. Some of them were very depressing realities, actually, but they happened to get picked up by the masses, and they became a structure that people supported. People allowed their governments to be influenced by these thought structures. And then these were the different nations that came and went throughout history. So all of these thought forms, all of these perceptions, which are worlds, which are potential realities, all of them are created fresh from the original source that is beyond space, beyond time, and they get created specifically for the generation, specifically for the people that are going to experience it, and all the different effects that this reality has on the person by believing in it and by living in accordance with it. So we're supposed to pray and to give thanks to one who created everything and to one who created the person individually. The spell al nafshay, to pray for his soul, the nefesh ishtay, the soul of his wife, Yibanav, and his children, also for his sustenance, that he should receive what he needs in order to be able to continue his existence, in order to be able to continue realizing more truth. Is one who doesn't believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu renews reality every single day. The prayer and the commandments become old. They become habitual. They become meaningless. He becomes fed up saying the same prayers every day, saying the same words every day. That's why my grandfather used to say, the Baal Shem Tov, don't throw me away to the days of old, to the days of old age. He says, don't throw me away by making things get old, by making things feel old, by making things look old. Just like when a person becomes old, his body becomes weak and he doesn't have the power that he had when he was young, because his energy gets worn out, and he doesn't have anymore his juice, he doesn't have his moisture. The meritzas adomim, the circulation of the blood, which gives life to the person. The same thing happens spiritually. When a person lives a certain concept and he becomes used to it, and it becomes old in him, he doesn't anymore have pleasure in it. It doesn't give him life. So he doesn't get life from something that became old. Something that becomes old is meaningless. So therefore, if somebody doesn't believe that life gets renewed every single day, so the things that he does get old. Everything seems to be just a continuation of the past. He's allowing the past to perpetuate, and he doesn't refresh, he doesn't create newness. So the Baal Shem Tov says, Al tashlicheni le'ezikne, don't throw me away. Don't allow my spirituality to become old, to become worn out, to become reused until it's meaningless, until it loses its power. So just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu renews creation every single day, we have to renew our perception every single day. We have to forget whatever blemishes we had with our interactions with reality in the past and try to have a perfect record from today. And then the next day again and again, to constantly renew so that we don't repeat our mistakes by habit. If it comes out of weakness, if we really can't stand in a certain test, then we find a way to return and we find a way to forgive ourselves. But we don't want to repeat offensive behavior out of habit. We don't want to create damage in the world due to laziness. That's certainly unacceptable. So every day, we try to renew our spirit, to be mechadesh v'tuvoi, to remember our kindness and to recreate our spirit, to rebuild, to reinforce our dedication to helping life, to making life better on this planet for its inhabitants. So every day, the Torah should be in your eyes like they're new, like it's new. Every day, when you renew every day, then it helps the belief. It creates more belief. Perish. HaKadosh Baruch Hu renews the world every day. Therefore, we can believe in you more. We can believe that from this moment forward can be a completely new reality. Because life is so big, life is so complex that we can never know what to expect. We can never know what comes next. As much as we've seen of life, we've seen nothing of the potential of life. And so life will always surprise us. That's the nature of life. And big events take place. Big events, for example, our birth. Our birth is the difference between whether we're experiencing in this world at all, or we're not even here. We don't even have the ability to interact with anything. So that's a big event. Now, when our birth happens, obviously, we have no expectation. We don't have any ability to expect. When we're in the womb, we are being prepared for a journey that is unimaginable. And the same thing at every age as we grow, what life has to offer in the future is unimaginable to the spirit prior to that event, prior to that experience. And so life renews itself. Life is constantly changing itself. Life is constantly presenting new realities to us. So we want to open up our realization to allow every moment to be the beginning of a new future, to be the beginning of something better. And just like when we go through difficulties, and when we have one difficulty following another difficulty, it makes it more and more difficult for the spirit. It makes it more and more tight. It makes it more and more withdrawn. So if we're constantly improving, if we're constantly open to changing for the better, then eventually the spirit comes to a place where it's much more healthy, where it's much more released, where it's much more comfortable. So, as we renew every day, our belief becomes purified, our belief becomes more. The main purpose of davening and performing the commandments is to create belief, is to convince ourselves that there really is a truth that we want to look for, that there really is a depth to life that is worth discovering, that there really is an interpretation that was available in the past that causes extreme pleasure, not only in this world, but for the entire future of eternity. So everything brings to Amen. It says, if a person is praying and there's a snake around his ankle, so he shouldn't stop. If there is a scorpion, then he stops. It says, what does that mean? What's the difference? Perish. When a person has a thought that is not appropriate, that's the snake. The snake speaks in two tongues. The snake, if somebody, for example, speaks Lashon Hara, the evil tongue, it's the nature of the snake. The snake speaks one way in the mouth and another way in the heart. And so when somebody has a thought that is inappropriate, it means that his heart is not being represented by that thought. So who's saying it? The snake is saying it. The function of the snake within human nature is causing a thought that is not in the best interest of the spirit, not in the best interest of the heart, to arise within the awareness. So it says, if that happens, continue praying. Don't stop. So it says, Perisha, what does it mean? It means he sees these thoughts are surrounding him. Don't stop praying. Why? If he really believes with all his heart that there's a creator of everything and he's the king of the world, if something designed all this, every detail, nothing can happen if it wasn't designed. And now you're receiving a thought that, in your opinion, shouldn't be here. How did it get there? Who caused it to come? Who caused it to happen? So if you really believe that everything is in accordance with the original design, there can be nothing else. There can be nothing, no force, no manifestation, no possibility that comes without the approval of the original source, of the original intelligence that created everything, that created the design and the platform. So then even this thought is coming here for a purpose. What's the purpose? The purpose is that you have had a thought of this nature in the past. And when you had that thought of this nature, you took a portion of your life force, you took a moment of your time, you took a moment of divinity, and you created a certain flavor to that divinity, a flavor that's not necessarily the most tasty flavor. It's not necessarily the most comfortable for the spirit. And so now, when you're in a state of prayer, and you're in a state where you want to connect to your divinity, that thought is coming to you and saying, hey, remember me? I don't agree with what you're saying over here. When you created me, you thought differently. And so what does that thought really want? It wants to be convinced that it's wrong. It wants to come back home. The spirit within that thought wants to be released from its bondage. It wants to be released from the sitra achra, from the other side, from the anti-human side, from the side that wants to hurt humanity. So how is it going to be released? By you realizing the true nature of the spirit that's being presented. By you realizing what is the essence of that machshava zara? What was I really looking for? Why did I come to such a conclusion? Why would I think such a thought? And behind everything that's real hides a good cause. You were trying to accomplish something. You were trying to gain safety. You were trying to gain approval. You were trying to save yourself from embarrassment. Something you were trying to achieve that is good. But the way that it came out was clumsy. The way that it came out was not really in your best interest. And so now when you're coming to purify yourself, that part of your spirit presents itself and says, hey, I need cleansing. I'm stuck. I was created with an interpretation that's unpleasant. So it comes to you in order to get a tikkun. It comes to you in order to be repaired, so that your spirit can unite, so that all portions of your spirit can agree that you are divine, that you deserve to receive what you desire. That's the nature of prayer. The nature of prayer means I believe that if I desire something, I should have it, and therefore I'm going to express my desire. And so if you don't really believe that, then your prayer won't believe it either. And the angel is going to fly in accordance with how you created it. If you believe in it, it's going to go all the way to its root and it's going to have an impact. If you don't believe, then it's not going anywhere. Like we said, everything depends on the belief. Everything. How we believe it is how we play it, how we pretend. And that pretend becomes real. That pretend is no pretend at all. That pretend is reality. Everything you're seeing in the world is people pretending, but they're pretending very seriously. They're pretending sometimes with weapons. They're pretending in the courts. They're pretending in the offices, in the courts, in the prisons. They're all just pretending. But it's the kind of pretending that becomes reality. As soon as we pretend, reality reacts to us very seriously. And so the machshavas come to a person because they need a tikkun, they need help. They want to be released from their bondage. So if you really believe that there's a creator, if you really believe, if you're intelligent enough to have realized that you haven't created yourself, because it would be way too messy. And when I say you, I mean you, the one thinking, the one that's trying to run the world, but can't. And then there's the you, which did create yourself. Then there's the life force inside of you that did create your body, your organs, your brain, your heart. And then it started thinking and feeling from within. So that you is all powerful. The thinking you is not sure how powerful he is. One day he feels very powerful, the other day he doesn't, because he doesn't know how to measure his power. He doesn't know how to wield his power. And so when the machshavas come, they're looking to be released, to go back to the source. And then you will have more power. Then you, the spirit, the one that did create the body, will be able to live in that body more comfortably. It says, it's like a metaphor. Somebody standing in front of the king and is speaking to the king. It would make no sense whatsoever that somebody comes to the king, finally has his appointment. He was waiting for this, he was preparing for this, and he finally gets to do his piece. He gets to say what's on his mind. And it would make no sense for one of the other servants to suddenly call him and tell him a joke or something. So obviously, those who are surrounding the king, they know how to behave. They wouldn't make a mistake like that. It could cost them their life. It says, this would, the king would separate him from his head. Would separate his head from him. And it must be that if a servant comes to you while you're talking to the king, it must be that the king sent the servant. If the king wouldn't send the servant would never have the ignorance to disrupt you while you're talking to the king. So, it says, there's another way of looking at it. It says, if this servant is calling him while he's talking to the king, he says this, it could be that this servant, he needs to talk to the king himself. This servant needs to talk to the king himself, but he can't talk to the king because he's dressed inappropriately. He's dressed in dirty clothing. And so he comes to you, he says, you're talking to the king already. Have me in mind over there. Come on, I need favors. Please talk to the king that he should take me out from my dirty clothing, because I want to come to the king also. So he says, he comes to this person, says, as we can understand, the machshava zara is the spirit that's dressed in an uncomfortable interpretation, comes to the spirit that's trying to communicate with the divine and says, please, if you're communicating with the divine, I got myself some problems. You can help me. Please intercede for me and get me to reinterpret myself. Find a way for me to rejoin my spirit. Find a way for me to become helpful to reality. Because while I had my chance to exist, I wasn't helpful to reality. I was complaining. I was causing problems. And now I can't come to the king. So help me that I should be able to release myself from this contamination so that I could find my source. So that's one way. He says, Oi, it could be another reason why the thought is calling him, the servant is calling him. It's that the king told him to go to this person and try to talk to him, that he wants to test him. So the other reason could be that it's a test. The king is sending some servant to try to distract this person while he's talking to the king. What does he want to see? He wants to see if this person appreciates the value of being able to talk to the king. Does he get it? Does he understand what he's doing? Is he doing it as a child? Is he doing it as a parrot who, yeah, it's good to talk to the king. Maybe he'll give me something. Okay, I'll go and I'll make my case. Or does he get it? Does he understand what he's interacting with? Does he understand the importance? Does he understand how consequential these moments are? Does he get it? This is very important for the king, because the king wants to invest in his resources in the places where they're going to make the most benefit. The more appreciation a person has for the king, the more the king will feel safe to invest his resources in that person. It will end up paying for the king. It will end up causing a greater good. And so in this instance, it's a test. The thought's coming to test him just to see if he'll get distracted. The person is praying, his emotions are alive, he's feeling the words that he's saying finally, and in the middle, his phone vibrates. What happens? Does he get it? Does he understand that his soul just opened itself up to him? These are precious moments. These moments can't be given away for anything. Or does it just move away, just continue on to another thought and forgets the intimacy that he just had with himself? He doesn't realize who he was interacting with, doesn't realize how deep, how meaningful that interaction really is, doesn't realize the nature of the spirit. The spirit gets offended. The spirit won't open up as easily if she's not appreciated, if the deeper levels of communication that come through are not regarded with the right attitude, with the right respect. So he says, one who believes with all his heart that there's a king, there's a force, there's a reality, there's a truth that lives inside these worlds and directs these worlds. Nobody can do anything without the source of life. The source of life has not left life. The source of life is involved in life, it's involved in every detail of life. We're all supposed to fear him, we're all supposed to be in awe of what we're interacting with over here. One who doesn't believe, for sure, at the first distraction, he'll disappear. His mind will just move on to another thought as if nothing happened. It won't even remember that it was in the middle of something different before. It's enough for those who understand. It says, this thing, if I can write all the pages in the world, I still won't be able to explain it to one who doesn't understand. To those who are wise, they can understand from short words. So he says, he goes back now to the snake. He says, what's an akrov? So we said the nochash, the snake, is a machshava zara, a thought that comes that wants to be mekatreg. It's not your friend. It comes and it's hostile to humanity. It's hostile to the spirit. So that Enochash continued davening. He says, why? You believe that every thought comes from the Creator. If it's coming now, it means the intelligence of the Creator told it that now is the time for it to reveal itself to you. It means that now is the time where you can do something with it, where it can be useful. Otherwise, why would it present itself? Who told it to do so? It's the design of the Creator that told it to do so. It's the intelligence that created life that designed it, that it should happen this way. And therefore, it has a purpose, it has a meaning. But an akrov, he says, what is an akrov? What is a scorpion? Akrov, a scorpion, means a person who loses his belief. A person loses belief is like he's been stung with poison. Because as soon as he doesn't believe, he doesn't have access to manifesting life. He's like a dead man walking. He doesn't believe in an ultimate purpose. He doesn't believe in destiny. His actions, his words, his thoughts are meaningless. They're just going with the wind. It's like the nature of the animals. They're just following the imagination. There's no purpose. There's no meaning. There's no intelligence that's building its understanding in order to manifest the deeper reality. And so therefore, a person like that, if he doesn't believe, then he should stop davening. He shouldn't pray. Why would you pray if you don't believe? He says, he lost his fear because he's not in awe of the truth. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand that this has a purpose, this has a design. He thinks it's just random. It just happened this way. This is how it spilled out of the bucket. And so therefore, he can't pray. What would be the point of praying? He has to stop the prayer. By a snake, you don't stop. The machshava zara is exactly the reason he's praying. Why are you praying? Because you have troubles. Why do you have troubles? Because you have thoughts that are not friendly to reality. So will come those thoughts that are not friendly to reality and say, here, you want to pray? Come fix me. Then you won't even have a reason to need to pray in the first place. You're going to be fine. The reason you have a problem is because of me. I'm making problems, says the snake. Fix me, you won't have any problems. Bring me back. Return all your thoughts, all your beliefs, all your understandings to be friendly to reality, and then you won't have any issues. So this is how you bring the Shekhinah. This is how you correct the divine presence. So for sure, then you continue davening if the snake comes. Because from there you bring up the divine presence, the presence of the divine. When it gets misunderstood, it can become deadly. It can turn against humanity. So therefore, you pray and you bring it back, when you bring back your belief, like we said in the beginning, that everything depends on the belief. So by you correcting your beliefs, you're fixing your machshava zoros, you're returning the life force that was against life to become pro-life, to become helpful. The one that was before a kateger, the one that was before finding fault in you is now complimenting you, is now giving you courage. So it says, he brings up the Shechina from there, through his davening, through his prayer. He awakens his heart. Like we said in the metaphor, he sees the servant, comes to him and says, look, I'm not dressed properly, I can't come to the king. Please ask the king to help me, to send me clothing, to change my clothing so that I can come in front of him, so that I can be tzrura b'tzroira chaim, so I can be in the bundle of life, so that I can experience reality from a place of life. So he's asking. So now in his prayer, when he sees this thought, he awakens his heart to feel mercy on this thought, to feel mercy on this servant of the king that got lost into such an interpretation, that got lost into such a dress, that got lost into such a distant reality where the king and his embrace and his warmth cannot be felt. And of course, if a person already knows the secret that really he is the son of the king, is not simply a servant, so then if he sees a part of his spirit, which is really the son of the king, that feels distant from the king, that has clothing where he can't come close to the king, of course, the compassion and the mercy that he's going to feel for that spirit, for that thought, is going to be of a much deeper quality, because here it's the father and the king. And this is known from the shining light that the Baal Shem Tov brought to the world. The Baal Shem Tov brought to the world this knowledge that each individual should know and realize that he is like the Ben Yochid of the king of the world. He's like the single son, the only daughter of the one who created life. Because the one who created life is so big that even if we imagine ourselves to be his only child, we still won't contemplate a tiny fraction of the desire that he has for our success. And so within each one of us, we're experiencing his infinite glory in a limited mind, in a limited perception. And so as far as our experience is concerned, we are the only son. We are the only creature. We are the only reality. We exist inside of our experience alone. Even though we can see different bodies and we can hear their words and we can feel their energy, we can't really be with them. We can't really perceive them the way that they are. And so we are the only child of the power, the force that created us. Each individual in their experience is the only one that's experiencing. And so this, the Baal Shem Tov made clear to us so that we can realize the importance of our experience. As far as our experience is concerned, everything that happens here is as if the whole world was created just for this. So we have to interact with it with that type of respect. So it says, this is what the Pasuk wants to hint. Tishman means gathering. So when we'll collect the Ekev, he said before, the Ekev, the lowest part of the Shechina is that goes to the other side, that goes to the potentials that are anti-human. So when the divine presence goes into its lowest states, when it becomes frustrated, that's when it starts creating thoughts and feelings that are anti-human. So at the bottom of that, at the bottom of the holy perception, at the heel, there's the potential for contaminated perception. There's the potential for frustration. And so when we will be able to collect that heel, we will be able to collect all the sparks from that place that is not holy, from the place that is giving power to the other side, to the side of anger, to the side that doesn't want humanity to succeed. And through that, you're going to have the appropriate belief, you're going to have the proper belief. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will protect the covenant with you. Bris is the lotion of prayer. Bris means connection. When we make a covenant, we're making a connection. So when we pray, we connect to attach all the worlds together, to unite all the worlds. That's Bechinas Bris. Iperash v'shoma loshen shmorim, k'mo shoma v'hashket, v'ayne midik k'neged midik. K'mo she'atamala kol b'chilas ha'reglayim, min ha'klippas kanal ali de'amina. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do for you like you do for him. If you're collecting all the thoughts, all the things inside of you that are unhealthy for you, that are unhealthy for humanity, and you're going to convert that into holiness, you're going to convert that into things, into thoughts, into emotions that will assist life, that will heal life, that will help life through belief. By believing the appropriate way, you will return all those sparks to their source. This will cause you that you'll be able to pray in truth, because you will have more spirit. Your spirit will be united more. You will have more presence. You will have more deeper perception. And therefore, your prayer will be more aligned with the truth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will save you from all the husks that are surrounding you. B'tfilah, when you daven, that because you're helping your thoughts get purified, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help you, that you should be able to pray with a pure mind. All these thoughts that are blocking you, that are obstacles for you, will fall below. You'll be able to go above. You'll stand and pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then, because you're doing it from such a pure place, and then he will answer you, and one who is enlightened will understand. All right.